Well, welcome everyone. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. Just as a reminder, the VCEDC is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're somewhat unique in that we have a volunteer working board of directors comprised of local, regional, and national business leaders who all share a passion for the North Woods and are dedicated to helping to diversify and grow Vilas County's economy, leveraging and sustaining Vilas County's unique strengths. We're very fortunate to have Kathy Schmitz, our executive director, who is a key and valued member of the team and so critical to our success. You'll hear more from Kathy in just a little while. I'd like to begin by thanking the Vilas County Board of Supervisors, the Lac du Flambeau Tribe, Nicolet Technical College, our business community, the community at large, our donors, and the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for their support, without which we couldn't accomplish the results that we'll share with you this morning. I'd also like to especially thank our board of directors, Kathy, our business outreach specialist, Mary Sue Drum, and our professional volunteers for providing the leadership, services, and support that we offer, all at no charge, to Vilas County businesses. I've had the privilege of serving, and I do mean that, this has been a real privilege to serve as the board chairman for this organization for the last 6 years. And I'd like to take a minute to share what I believe it means for Vilas County to have this skilled, experienced, and committed team supporting the Vilas County business community. I think perhaps the best way to think of this is to imagine, what if there were no VCEDC? Where would the dozens of entrepreneurs and small businesses that we support each year turn to for help to start and grow their businesses? How much longer would it take them to become successful? Or worse yet, how many might fail and how many jobs could be impacted without the commitment and support that we offer? Vilas County's broadband expansion is far ahead of the vast majority of counties north of Highway 64. How would the rollout of broadband across Vilas County that we're seeing today have happened without the leadership, skills, and extremely significant commitment of time made by the VCEDC broadband work group? I'm very proud of the return on investment the VCEDC provides to the Vilas County Board, our donors, and our granting institutions, and to be part of such a wonderful team. I'm now pleased to welcome Craig Dickman, Managing Director of Titletown Tech. However, before I introduce Craig, I'd like to briefly introduce Noah Lottig, VCEDC board member, and the technical talent behind this webinar to introduce the Q&A process that will follow Craig's remarks. We extend our thanks to Noah and the UW system for enabling us to host this webinar today.
Thank you, Jim. I can say that we're very excited about the collaborative partnership that we have between VCEDC and particularly the University of Wisconsin Center for Limnology here, and excited about the opportunities that it affords both of us. As Craig is speaking today, you might have some questions for Craig, and we're looking forward to having Craig answer those questions. In your Zoom bar down at the bottom, you will see a little button that says Q&A. It's similar to the chat, but it's not the chat, it's the Q&A button. If you click on that button, you can submit a question. We likely won't be able to get to all of the questions, but hopefully we'll be able to get to several questions here at the end Craig is done. So as questions come up during Craig's talk or during the Q&A session, please click on that button and enter your question, and we will get to as many of those as possible. Thanks, Jim. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Noah. Craig Dickman is the managing director and one of the key visionaries in the creation of Titletown Tech, which is a venture capital partnership between the Green Bay Packers and Microsoft. Craig has a very successful career history as an entrepreneur and has begun and successfully grown a number of businesses throughout his career. Craig currently serves as the vice chair of the UW Green Bay Council of Trustees. He's on the board of directors for the Green Bay Community and Foundation and the Green Bay Packers. Titletown Tech seeks out and invests in early stage startups, and we're grateful to learn more about their strategy and also for Craig's vision for the future of economic development in Wisconsin, and in particular, his views on economic development in the North Woods. Thank you and welcome, Craig.
Thank you, Jim. It's really a pleasure to be with you here today. And I also want to extend a thank you to Kathy Schmitz. Both Jim and Kathy have been extraordinary to work with through the process of setting this presentation up together. And I think it's really fitting that we have a discussion around economic development and bring it back to the kind of partnerships that Titletown Tech is building around the state of Wisconsin. And so just as a brief background, as Jim mentioned, Titletown Tech is a partnership between the Green Bay Packers and Microsoft. But even before that partnership started, it started with a really interesting question that took place at the Packard Board of Directors. So I'm currently in my 11th season on the Packard Board of Directors. And I recall in really my first or second year being there, when our Chief Operating Officer, Ed Policy, asked a question of the board. And the question went a little bit like this. He said, we've got one of the best known brands, not only in the state of Wisconsin, but broadly. We're community owned. We're in the smallest market of any professional sports team in North America. We have a real responsibility to the community in which we serve and function. And we have a really active foundation. And we're really proud of the foundation. From a philanthropic side, it gives money to most counties across the state of Wisconsin and has really taken this statewide approach from, again, a philanthropic side. But he asked the question, he said, what are we doing for economic development and try to grow the economy? What are we doing about innovation and entrepreneurship? How are we making cases for young technical talent, especially technical talent, but young people and families to want to live here and grow and build their professional careers here? And what are we doing to help companies that are here in Wisconsin really position themselves to compete well in the digital economy that's emerging? And we really recognize that we weren't doing enough. So that set out a process to say, okay, if we have some of those as some of the core principles, what is it that we want to build and really leverage this unique position that the Packers have built and this unique community engagement to try to develop and support those very things that I just mentioned. And so we were on this path of developing at the time what was going to be called Titletown Ventures. And then once in a while in your journey, good fortune just happens. And in our case, the good fortune happened when a reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel introduced Mark Murphy, the president of the Packers, to Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, who actually had grown up in Appleton, Wisconsin. And Mark shared, hey, here's what we're thinking about doing with Titletown Ventures at the time. And Brad said, well, Microsoft is working on an initiative as well. And that initiative is really to bring some of the activity that we see mostly on the coast into the central part of America. They were calling it Tech Spark. And it was focused on how do we think about improving K through 12 education from a digital standpoint? How do we think about computer science upskilling? How do we help support something that's very important to Vilas County and rural broadband? I know you're taking a leadership role in that, but broadly, we needed to connect people in every part of our country to the digital economy. And so that's what they were working on. And fortunately, the two said, well, I wonder what would happen if we tried to do something together and create a partnership. And what it really led to, like so many early stage companies and ventures, because for years I described this as a startup for startups. What it did was say, okay, let's kind of start with a white piece of paper and say, what is it that we could create? And that's really what became Titletown Tech. And so the Packers and Microsoft are at the core of Titletown Tech. And then what we did from there is say, okay, now that we've got this partnership, how do we think about trying to advance those things of innovation, entrepreneurship, talent? And we really decided to take an ecosystem approach. And in that ecosystem approach, recognize that we believe business creation was happening, at a continued accelerating rate. And we still believe that business creation is happening at an incredible rate. That not only here in Wisconsin, in the Midwest, but throughout our area, that we had really extraordinary entrepreneurs and founders who were looking to create businesses and solve meaningful problems. And we also thought that we had the potential here in Wisconsin to solve some of the most important problems facing our country with those entrepreneurs. And then we realized, though, that even a good founder solving a meaningful problem, we have to just recognize that most of those companies still fail. And it was our belief that one of the things that made a fundamental difference in the success or failure, not the only thing, but one of the things, was the quality of the ecosystem in which they were launching their business. That's the first point where I think there's so much in common between what VCEDC does and what Titletown Tech is doing, is this ecosystem approach. So we believe that the better the ecosystem that we could build to give entrepreneurs the opportunity to build in would increase the likelihood of success and also the speed, which is very important as well. And so we started with a couple of fundamental things. First, we looked to say, what do we think we're good at here in the state of Wisconsin? Where do we think there's talent? And if you're going to try to build an ecosystem from our launch, we said, we can't do everything. So let's figure out what we want to do and try to do really well. And we ended up focusing on what we call 5 verticals or 5 focus areas that we think are the most important areas on which to build. So with the Packers, sports media and entertainment became one of those. And then we also looked at digital health or ways to use technology or data to improve health and healthcare. The third one that we picked was advanced manufacturing and construction technology, very simply making things. We feel that we're very good as a region at making things and that it gets undervalued by so many people on the coasts who, if it's not digital, it's not worthwhile. So making things. The fourth one we focused on was supply chain technology, or simply the movement of things. If we're going to be good at making things, we have to be able to move them. And then we created this fifth one, which we call AWE. It's one of our favorites, AWE. And it stands for agriculture, water, and the environment. And we really thought about food sustainability, clean water, and then natural resources, and just the rich heritage we have in terms of the environment and the resources that our state provides. And so we wanted to create some areas of focus. And then as we continued on, we thought, okay, as we build this ecosystem, what are the types of things that we think would be worthwhile to an entrepreneur? In fact, the way I got involved in Titletown Tech as a board member is, as Jim said, I had founded a company, I'd led one also, but I founded a company, scaled a company called Breakthrough Fuel that ended up being the industry leader when it comes to managing the energy that's used to move goods to market. And we scaled into 47 countries. And I recall someone from the board asking, it's like, okay, if you were going to drop into an ecosystem, what would you want? And so we started thinking about access to talent, access to capital, access to resources, but realized that one of the very important things was the quality of network that we could extend into. So we made a decision that we wanted to create a core group of Wisconsin companies who are investors. And so many that you'd be familiar with, like Kohler and Bolt Construction and Aaron's and Baird Capital and Green Bay Packaging, and companies that are Wisconsin-based companies. But then we realized that we couldn't create a bubble. And I think it's really important from an economic development standpoint, not to create an economic bubble. And so we recognized that, for better or worse, 70% of private equity and venture money was involved in Boston, New York, or Silicon Valley markets. And so we decided we really needed a partner in each one of those markets so that we could have both access to the deal flow, access to capital, that we could bring more capital in to invest in Wisconsin-based companies. And so we were fortunate to find somebody in each of those markets who invested in what we're doing and partnered with us. And so really tried to build that ecosystem so that when a founder is working with us, that they can very quickly connect into a potential customer to run a pilot, see if something works, get feedback, and really help them with the match between the problem that they're trying to solve, the way they're trying to solve it, and the market value in which it's creating when they're doing so. And so for us, we've tried to create an environment where companies can work with us that we invest in one of 2 ways. We invite everyone who's working with us, if they want to, they can be in residence here at no cost. And right now I've got 5 companies in residence here inside Titletown Tech. Or what we do, and this is actually more common because we've invested in 34 companies so far. So the other 29, the way they work with us is what we call intensives. So they'll come with a problem and say, boy, we're having a hard time, or this message isn't resonating. I'm having a problem with our product. The technology is not quite the way it is. And so we'll figure out what problem is their focus right now and what hump they need to get over in order to advance what they're trying to do. And then we'll tap into our network and pull in people who can provide expertise in a way that would be very hard for a startup to typically get to help solve some of those problems. And so really bring those in a way that really focuses and helps them solve their most challenging problems as a way to continue on their path of building. And so we've had some really interesting, I think, results so far. One of the things that's interesting for us is we don't make conditional investments, meaning we don't say you have to be here in order to get investment. But so far we've had, in fact, we've just found out we've got our sixth company relocating to Wisconsin as a result of being part of this ecosystem. We've had 2 move from Los Angeles, 1 from Denver, 1 from New York City, 1 from Alabama, and the latest is moving from Phoenix. And they're doing so because they believe that they've got a better chance of growing and building their business in Wisconsin than they do where they were. And I think that's really important because they recognize that the quality of talent, especially when you have the ability to connect with talent anywhere, they can be sitting in Vilas County, Green Bay, or Los Angeles, have the same level of skill and productivity. So we have access to talent in really remarkable ways. They now see that there's access to capital. There's a higher quality of life. There's a lower cost of living. So if you're a founder, you don't have to raise as much or give up as much of your company in Wisconsin as if you were doing the same thing in a major market. And so they begin to realize that, we can have all the technical and business capabilities that they need, including capital, and have a good quality of life. And I think it really puts us in the state of Wisconsin in a unique position to compete long-term with anywhere else in the country when you start thinking about the natural advantages that we have here. And so we've had some remarkable successes from the companies. One of my favorite is we've got a company in Wisconsin called Synthetic. They've actually found the Chinese spy balloon, traced it back in geospatial imaging to show where exactly that balloon launched. They've been written up in the New York Times and Wired. BBC did a special on them. And it's a group of Wisconsin people building brand new technology when it comes to AI here in the state of Wisconsin. And we've also got really interesting companies that are in food and hydroponics. That one of our companies has a supply chain that's all in Wisconsin, but is now successfully grown to sell in every state in 9 different countries, growing from a couple people when we started working with them to about 50 people now. And so I think we're seeing the real opportunities that comes to value creation. And when we bring it all the way back to the type of things that you're doing, and what I've seen Vilas County EDC doing in here is taking that very similar supportive, collaborative, partnered approach to an ecosystem to show that you can build there, that you can get support there, and at the same time, you can have an incredible quality of life and connect into any part of the economy that you're professionally interested in doing so. And so we're really excited about the work that you're doing there. We really try to focus and make, just like the Packers Philanthropic Foundation tries to connect in all parts of the state, we really try to do that from an entrepreneurial and innovation side as well, and make sure that we're helping build an ecosystem that others can connect to. So I'm certainly hoping that this is the beginning of a relationship that, when you've got founders doing extraordinary things and they're looking to tap into a network, if it fits in some of our market areas and is an early stage company, that we could look for ways to collaborate and build and expand. And I think ultimately our objectives are very similar in terms of growing the economies of the state of Wisconsin and the places that we choose to live. And I think it's great that we all choose to live where we do. And so with that, I'd be more than happy to take some questions. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on the panel. If anything pops up, please feel free to let me know. But again, congratulations on what you've been doing with the Economic Development Corporation. And it seems that things are off to a really, really strong impact, and congratulate you for doing so.
All right, thank you, Craig. If folks have questions, please feel free to open that Q&A button and type your questions in there for Craig.
So not seeing any questions, I'll say the one question I'm always surprised people don't ask in settings like this is, why in the world Bigfoot's behind me? Which seems like just a throwaway. So I have to share with you, one of the things we talked about when we were starting with this business model is I think there are people who questioned whether or not we've got great entrepreneurs here in the state of Wisconsin. And we were started in part because people had questions about that. And we said, well, in this case, we believe that they're out there, but sightings are rare. And our job is to make sure if there's one in existence here in the state of Wisconsin, we're going to find them. And so we affectionately call it, kind of the search for Bigfoot here, which is our search for those extraordinary entrepreneurs.
I love that analogy.
So one of the questions that came in is, what challenges and opportunities do you see for Vilas County in the upcoming decade? And I really think that, what's important, not just to Vilas County, but I think of northern Wisconsin in total. And what's really important is almost like our ecosystem approach is, it's really important to have a strong core, strong foundation like we do. And then that you pick where you want to connect in, that can you extend the reach for your entrepreneurs into additional markets. I think you have some natural advantages on attracting talent and showing that talent can have the incredible lifestyle that they've got and connect into companies anywhere. And I think what sometimes draws talent is seeing the ability to work on really interesting problems with really quality colleagues in an environment that they feel good about. And so I'd say, focus on the core, make sure you're making it as easy as possible for people to be digital workers that can work anywhere in the world and provide their skill and expertise, and then be deliberate about connections that you want to make into the broader economy. So you start creating a natural flow of economic activity and opportunity. And if you do that, I think, again, ultimately we'll take advantage of our natural strengths. I think Wisconsin has a number of natural strengths that the economy that we're heading into, both digital and as we've come out of COVID and people recognize the importance of place, really comes together in a way that sets an environment up for Vilas County to be successful.
Oh, sage advice, Craig. I think one last final question before we turn it back over to Jim is, what's on all of our minds? What was it like having Taylor Swift and Simone Biles at the Packer game?
Well, it's amazing. There's nothing like, having a winning streak on national TV. And so I shared, I got asked for more tickets. And normally the requests that I got this year were, for this game were, hey, my daughter wants to go to the game for the first time in a while. So can you find a place for her? And so it created great excitement. But I love the fact that, and Taylor Swift is clearly an economic engine in her own right. And that we have things here that bring her to Wisconsin. That's why maintaining these community-owned and community-focused organizations, whether it's the Green Bay Packers or whether it's VCEDC, these are so important to keeping us connected in a broad way. And I think that showed it in a really elegant way.
Fantastic. Why don't you grab that last question, because I think you're uniquely poised to answer it about common denominators, and then we'll turn it back to Jim.
Absolutely. So one of the questions that came in was focused on housing challenges. And that's really a great and insightful question, because it's certainly one of the things that we've recognized as well. So if you look at the Titletown district, if you happen to come down here, one of the things we did is put our venture center adjacent to a 152 unit apartment building. And in fact, one of the founders that moved from LA actually moved in and has about now a 3.5 minute commute between the office and his housing. And so I think it really is important, especially if you want to get young talent, that you've got diverse options when it comes to housing, that you're deliberate about where they are, that you make sure the economics align so that early stage companies, don't have, typically, if you want founders, don't have a ton of money that they're putting into their lifestyle, they're putting it into their business, and just understanding the economics that founders are dealing with as they're starting to launch their business, and find ways that makes it easy for them, both where they live and to connect digitally, to be able to work and create whatever they're creating and solving these problems from where they choose to be.
Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I know that Jim's going to take over and you've got a great agenda going on. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stay and sit in the cheap seats and listen to all the great things going on. And Jim, turn it back to you.
Craig, thank you so much. That was really very enlightening, and we're very appreciative and look forward to being able to continue to stay in contact. We very much appreciate your interest in staying in touch with us and seeing how we can take advantage of some of your ideas in the North Woods. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Kathy Schmitz, our Executive Director, who will share her perspectives and some key results from this past year.
Great. Thank you, Jim. And good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be with you today. When I look back on 2023, a poignant question stands out. How do we want to shape where we live? Our leadership on 3 key initiatives: broadband, broad business engagement, and one-on-one business support, is truly how we answer that question, helping to shape and strengthen Vilas County as a diverse, welcoming, and premier year-round place to live and work, where success truly becomes a reality. And this makes a huge difference in both our quality of life and economy. You'll hear an update on broadband shortly, but for now, let's take business support. The one comment that we hear often is that the work we do supports business owners to live their dreams by being a one-stop shop, if you will, of local, regional, national, and international business experts to navigate the uncertainties of how to start a business, grant and loan options and applications, taxes, accounting, developing a business plan, marketing and social media. Also, they can focus on what they do best. What they're good at: managing their restaurants, gift shops, resorts, hair salons, garden centers, pet stores, manufacturing, HVAC, and so many others. Businesses that you and I rely on. Our business support in 2023 also included forward-thinking educational opportunities, such as e-commerce and AI, presented by local and national experts, with the latter including CBS News correspondent David Polk. And our education extended to inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs when we welcomed Craig Culver, co-founder and former CEO of Culver's, and a panel of local business owners to speak to nearly 600 students at Northland Pines High School. And so what an honor to partner with such a distinguished educational institution. And this morning, we demonstrate our thought leadership as we investigate bridging innovation with leading regional organizations such as Titletown Tech. We continue to get asked by colleagues in the Northwoods and throughout the state, how are you guys doing all of this? As some of you may know, I joined the VCEDC as executive director 4 years ago for one primary reason: the opportunity to work alongside board chairman Jim Tuckwell and our board of directors with their passion, dedication, and commitment to this organization and Vilas County. They're business leaders volunteering thousands of hours, working with me day to day, including mornings, evenings, and weekends, to find solutions and provide leadership to positively impact real lives and communities, one family, one town at a time. Together, we're achieving strong results as a result of an even greater energy, commitment, and the exceptional knowledge base of board members in both business and broadband. Warren Buffett once said, in the world of business, the people who are most successful, who are those doing what they love. Those words are truly a testament to the VCEDC. Our mission is stronger than ever, creating a strong, diverse Northwoods economy. It's about striving to be even better than we are today, shaping where we live. Here's a glimpse of how we've made a lasting impact for business owners in 2023.
What inspired us to open the Outdoorsman is a dream. When we first opened up, you take baby steps, but there's been no baby steps here. We just keep evolving, keep growing, keep making changes. The Vilas County EDC helped us get a grant, opened up the door for us to be able to open. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here right at this moment.
This is truly a family business. Pat and I started it about 16 years ago.
A lot of vegetables, a lot of in-season products, eventually hoping to offer a year-round.
Something that I'm really grateful for the Vilas County EDC is just making it manageable. Like, we have dreams, all kinds of different ideas, but we're like, how are we ever going to do that? And the Vilas County EDC has said, you can do this, has encouraged us.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Kayla, and we own Iconic Etchings and Innovations in Eagle River.
Iconic Etchings is a custom manufacturer of wooden products. We make our own products as well as develop other products for other companies.
You have to have the passion there, and we've had a ton of support, whether it's from the community, from family, from programs like the VCEDC. When we found out about the Main Street Bounce Back Grant, I reached out to Kathy. She was eager to help. She made the application process extremely smooth and just made sure we had all the resources we needed. And that was incredible, came at the perfect time as we were renovating and outfitting this new location for our business.
Hi, I'm Sean.
And I'm Amy, and we're the owners of Headwater Services in Land O'Lakes, Wisconsin.
Kind of talked about being business owners for years, and this seems like a good opportunity, so we're gonna take it.
We were really nervous about starting a business, and it was scary and unknown, and we actually were able to reach out to the Vilas County EDC, and Mary Sue was phenomenal in giving us resources, guiding us, sometimes just giving me some encouragement and saying, hey, you've got this.
My name is Dan Byhoff, and I'm co-owner of Eagle River Roasters with my wife, Susan. The VCEDC, I think, is just a terrific organization. It's a terrific opportunity. The background, the experience, the people on the board, the people involved. I don't think you can get too much good information.
I'm Stephen Bartling from Bartling's Manchester Cranberry. I'm an owner with my brother. Bartling's Cranberry started in 1946 by my great-grandfather, so we're the fourth generation. On an average year, we'll harvest between 5 and 7 million pounds of cranberries from this facility. We grow specifically for the Crazen market under Ocean Spray brand and also for international sales. So Vilas County Economic Development it's got an important role for this community and businesses like ourselves. We really struggle with different components because we're so focused in on what we do every day, which is growing cranberries and the nuances of that. We're being a part of a supporting organization that's looking at the broader scope.
My name is Tasha Skochoff, and I own Wander Wild Farm, and I live here in Eagle River. So Wander Wild Farm is a flower farm and a floral design company that I started in 2017. A lot of times we start our businesses out of having a passion for something, but then the business side can be really tricky, especially for me. That's been the hardest part, is actually running the business. The Vilas County EDC has been really helpful in connecting me with other resources and people who have helped me figure out tax questions and accounting, finding funding for my business.
My name is Linda Reinowski. My husband and I, Ron, bought the ice shanty about 2 years ago. This is season 2 for us. The Vilas County EDC has been wonderful to help support our business pretty much from day one. The Main Street Bounce Back Grant, which allowed us to upgrade all of our freezers on the inside and add those extra hard scoop flavors. So now our freezers are all up to date.
You just don't have all the answers when you're an entrepreneur. So to have a group of people who have been in business and are running businesses and can advise you on how you might better improve your business.
Vilas County EDC has done so much into just giving us a purpose, a reason. Okay, well, now we can grow, we can do this.
Great, thank you. We're just so delighted with that video and all the people we've been able to help in 2023, and more great work to come in 2024. So next, I'm delighted to welcome Mary Sue Drum, our business outreach specialist, to walk through the numbers from 2023.
Thanks a lot, Kathy. Hello, my name is Mary Sue Drum, and I am the SBA Community Navigator Business Outreach Specialist with the Vilas County EDC. I'm here today to summarize the one-on-one business outreach and support that we've done with businesses in Vilas County in 2023. I'm pleased to report that we've worked with 62 businesses this year. Here are a few ways that we can help. We have done a total of 89.5 consulting hours with local businesses or entrepreneurs who want to start a business. The top 3 topics are marketing at 27 hours, grant assistance and research at 10 hours, and business financing at 29 hours. We've done 4 hours of website consultations, one-on-one with businesses, 22 hours of marketing videos featuring the businesses telling their stories, and have had 2 businesses participate in entrepreneur classes where people vet their ideas and develop business plans. One of the businesses that took the course has expanded and has actually hired a new employee. The other will open in 2024. The remaining hours of work that we've done are miscellaneous consultations, things like accounting, other topics. We've also had businesses participate in lunch and learn sessions with topics such as how to finance your business, how to attract the new tourist, how will AI impact your business, AI security, and the state of broadband in Vilas County. Total attendance at these events is 203 people. And finally, how do we impact the businesses we worked with? It was said best in the testimonial video that you just saw earlier. We encourage businesses, we help them get the information they need to either expand or grow. We connect them with experts who can answer their questions and help them. We listen to their questions, and sometimes all they need is an ear and someone positive to say, yes, we can do this. We help them tell their stories, which is critical to their success. Everybody has a story that's important to them, and these small businesses all have fabulous stories. We're very fortunate to have outstanding partners in the process, and we would like to thank them. The partners are the Vilas County EDC Board of Directors, Nicolet College, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, the Small Business Development Centers at UW-Stevens Point, retired executive mentors through the SCORE program, which is an SBA program, a national network of business mentors who volunteer their time to help small businesses, SBA resources, other local financial institutions, including banks, credit unions, and community development financial institutions. There's a mouthful for you. They're called CDFIs. Anyway, so I'm happy to report it really has been a pleasure to be able to be serving businesses in Vilas County and provide this support to them in 2023. So now back to Jim for an update on the VCEDC broadband initiatives. Thank you.
Mary Sue, thank you very much. It's obviously been a busy year. So thank you very much for sharing that. Recently, Bill Niemuth, VCEDC board member and our broadband team leader, Kathy Schmitz and myself attended a 2-day broadband workshop sponsored by UW Extension and hosted by Nicolet College. The workshop began with a video introduction by Mark O'Connell, who's the president and CEO of the Wisconsin Counties Association. We think Mark's message fits extremely well with our VCED strategy and today's agenda. So we'd like to share his remarks that opened up that workshop with you today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for that very kind introduction. I am sorry I cannot be with you in person, but thanks to our great team here in the world of broadband, I'm able to join you electronically. We're going to get to why broadband is so important to local government, but before we get there, I'd like to take a little walk through geoeconomics. There are many ways to describe economies or compare economies. Warren Buffett, of course, would say that in an economy, if you import more than you export, you will lose wealth. And if you export more than you import, you will gain wealth. Another way to look at economies is with industrialized nations, nearly every industrialized nation is a consumer-led economy. In other words, you need to have enough of humanity or people consuming whatever it is you produce and whatever it is you import to make your economy go. In that regard, if you need a certain critical mass of people to make your economy work, which would be the consumer-led economy, then we need to look at fertility rates of nations. And when we look at the fertility rates of industrialized nations around the country, we see trouble on the horizon. For example, while the replacement rate for a population is 2.1 births per female, we have countries like the United Kingdom with a birth rate of 1.6, Germany 1.5, Japan 1.3, China 1.2, South Korea 0.9. The United States is 1.7 when you do not count immigration, any kind of immigration. So industrialized countries in a consumer-led economy, and many economists would say that we're 70-30. Some have actually pegged it as high as 80-20 consumer-led economy. I think we're more likely in the 70 or maybe slightly below range in terms of consumer-led economy versus creation economy within. But when we look at within our United States economy, our 20-some trillion-dollar economy, if we look back in time, when we were a manufacturing-based economy, the 1950s, where we produced and created a lot of things you could touch and feel and drop, our economy has changed dramatically in the succeeding 70 years. And really, in the past 30, changed very rapidly to from a manufacturing-based economy to a new millennium knowledge technology-based economy, where the number one resource for private sector profit is no longer oil, steel, water, or paper pulp, but rather smart young talent. In our U.S. economy, I used to say that we were on the eve of a labor shortage. I think that that's inaccurate today. I actually think we're at late morning or midday of a labor shortage in our country. We don't create, produce, retain, educate, attract enough smart young talent here in our state. And we're not alone. It's all across the country. We don't have enough of that. And that smart young talent, even though they are having children later in life, which would continue the cycle of smart young talent, even though it's later in life, we don't have enough of them here in our state now, or we're not attracting them. So in our state, in Wisconsin, while we have a very substantial public sector, a lot of people in the public sector, if we are going to succeed as a state, if our economy is to be successful, if we were to have a vibrant, flourishing economy that creates opportunities for all, then we need a very strong, vibrant private sector. So we must necessarily ask ourselves, what is it that the private sector needs to be successful? And it's a long list. It is available capital to invest, risk, build, expand. It is infrastructure, hard infrastructure, like roads and bridges, and soft infrastructure like broadband. And I would suggest the number one resource for private sector profit that the private sector needs is smart young talent. And as I just mentioned, we don't have enough or create enough or attract enough. So if these are the things that the private sector needs, and we could spend days talking about these necessary ingredients, the one I want to focus on now is the smart young talent. So if we don't have enough or attract enough to fuel our private sector economy, then we must ask, where are they and how do we attract them? Where are they and why are they wherever they are? The where are they is not too difficult. There's all kinds of studies and demographics you could find on the internet to tell you where they are. Large cities, medium cities, small cities, rural areas, they're in various places. I think the bigger question is, why are they in these various locations? Well, unlike the 1950s, 60s, 70s in our manufacturing-based economy, the time that I grew up in, I'm a baby boomer, when I graduated from high school, sometimes you were given a gift by your parents. In my case, it was a suitcase, and you were told to use it. The parents' job by the age of 18 was done, and now you're on your own. You can go away to school, you can go find a job, you can go move to where that job is, you can move out of the house. It's time for you to be on your own. I saw an interesting statistic recently where, as parents, we spend more or less 18 years with our children, a lot. We spend a lot of time with those young people between 0 and 18. But after they turn 18, for the rest of our lives, we will spend a total of 1 year with them, which I don't like at all. I love to have my children around. I'm an empty nester, and I don't like it one bit. I like it when the children are in the house, and the thought of only spending 1 full year the rest of my life with my children is an unpleasant thought. In any event, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, when our young people would move on, they would essentially find a job and go to where that job was. And they would be employed. That's what dictated where our people went. That's very different in our new millennium knowledge technology-based economy, where we have young people graduating from high school and very likely getting some form of higher education, and then moving to where life is attractive to them, and then finding a job once they get there. Very different than the 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s. And when our young people go to where life is attractive to them and cannot find a job, their baby boomer parents fund them for a while. Help them financially, help them actually in many, many ways. If it really goes bad, then these young people move back to their parents' home. And unlike the 50s, 60s, 70s, where a young person moved out and immediately the bedroom was turned into a den or a library or a storage room, today, parents are keeping the bedroom of their young person who moved out in pristine condition, hoping someday that they would come back. So when they come back from these adventures that did not turn out to be successful, we welcome them back. We say we're going to charge them rent, but we don't. We say we're going to make them do their own laundry, but we don't do that either. They actually like us as parents, and we very much like them. A very different dynamic than years past. So the question remains, where are they going? And what do they find attractive wherever they are? Well, there are studies that have looked at this issue as well. And there are many things which attract our younger people to various locations. It is continuing education, not even for a degree. It is the ability to live in an area without having to own a vehicle. It is diversity, nightlife. It's a long list. But high up on the list of nearly every study that's looked at this is broadband everywhere you can breathe, everywhere there is air, high up. Try to keep a 20-something in an area where there is no broadband, good luck. And having broadband is no guarantee of economic success. But not having it, it will be very, very difficult to achieve economic success. So if we know that our number one resource for profit in our new millennium knowledge technology-based economy is smart young talent, and we know some of the items that our smart young talent find attractive, then if we are to position ourselves for future economic success, we would necessarily examine and invest in those amenities which will attract that smart young talent. Well, why do we not do that? I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. Well, when we look at the local government decision-making process and the politics of the day, it becomes very difficult. For example, at the local government level, we might contemplate building a building, maybe a courthouse or a jail or an administrative building. Or we might be talking about putting dollars into the rebuilding of a road or repaving of a road. We understand these things. We can see them, we can walk on them, we can touch them, we can walk into them as a building. We understand them, and we have a general idea of what the price of those things are. And it's relatively comparable. We can get different prices on a building, but the price of one building is $100, and this is what you get for it. And the price of a building is $150, but you might get more for it. We can judge that. We can grasp it. We can understand it. Contrast that with broadband, where it's nebulous. It's difficult to understand. Starlink or Kuiper or fiber or line of sight, these are concepts that we're not overly familiar with, and we can't readily compare them. Most of the time, you really can't touch or feel them. We have no feel whether it's the right decision or it's the right price for that decision. And then pile on top of that, or layer on top of that, the political arena in which we work today, where we have a public that is not willing, for the most part, to allow our decision makers at the federal, state, and local level to make decisions where the benefit of which is not returned within the term of office. It seems as if we are past the days where we have a challenge in society and we have our federal, state, and local elected leaders say, well, this solution might be a 5 or 10-year solution, but we're going to get to a better place. Instead, we have an environment where if you don't solve the problem now or between now and the next election, somebody else will be occupying that elected seat. It seems as if we have an immediate gratification challenge in society that is being foisted upon our decision makers as they tackle the challenges of the day. So you layer on top of our lack of understanding and comprehension of what the options are to implement broadband in our area, even though we need it. We can readily understand that broadband is a necessary element to attract smart young talent, and they fuel the private sector. We get that part. But understanding what the options are is much more difficult. And then in this era of scarce resources, local elected officials applying property tax dollars toward the general category of broadband, not fully understanding or grasping what the options are and what the proper cost is, makes it very risky. And if anything, all local elected, state elected, and federally elected officials, or nearly all, are risk averse. It's made the issue very difficult. What has changed? What has changed is, as a nation, we have decided that broadband is a necessary element for the success of our country, of our national economy, and thereby our state economies and local economies. So we have, as a nation, allocated immense resources to local units of government to implement broadband. Yet we still don't know exactly how and in what form we might implement. But what we have done with this influx of federal resources is remove one of the risk elements to making a decision at the local level regarding implementation of broadband, and that is the use of property tax dollars. We may still have some property tax dollars in the mix, but an enormous amount of federal dollars are available for us to make a decision about how we serve our citizens most effectively and efficiently with implementation of broadband. It doesn't remove all of the risks. It doesn't remove all of the challenges. But by removing one of those very significant challenges, we've given ourselves a lot of latitude and a great opportunity to take a step forward. Now, we still have the education element of it. What is the right decision? In what format? And how might we implement whatever decision we make? Well, that is where this meeting today fits in. Understanding what the options are, understanding how they all work, understanding the comparables. What works in one area may not necessarily work in another, but it doesn't mean that one decision is better or worse than another. We need to understand them and apply with our limited resources at the local level, even though we have additional federal resources, how we best utilize the resources we have. That is what this two-day event that you are embarking on within the next few minutes is all about. And if we are successful in understanding, when I fully believe we will be, and if we get comfortable in making a decision about utilization of federal, state, and our local dollars in the implementation of broadband, then what we really do is address and create one of the attractive elements that our smart young talent, the wealth makers of tomorrow, find attractive in our communities. And we increase our chances of keeping or attracting some of that smart young talent to fuel our private sector, which we desperately need to be successful for our state to be economically successful. If we do all of that, then we have the opportunity for more people to make more money, engage in more commerce, paying more in taxes at current or even lower rates, which we then take as a state and as localities to reinvest in our communities to make them further attractive to that smart young talent, and the cycle can continue. That, I think, is a sustainable model. And that is why broadband is so critically important to local units of government and the success of our communities and our state. I wish you well the next 2 days, and I have full confidence in our friends who will be conveying incredible knowledge to you in the next short time. Thank you for your time, and good luck.
We made the decision to lead broadband rollout throughout Vilas County about 4 years ago in the first quarter of 2020. When we began, Bill Niemuth, our VCEDC board member and broadband team leader, cautioned us that, quote, broadband's hard work. We learned that it certainly is, but we are now seeing the culmination of almost 4 years of dedication and the investment of countless hours to bringing broadband to Vilas County. There are currently just over $70 million in broadband projects that are either completed, underway, or are funded and approved that are bringing high-speed fiber internet to almost 13,000 Vilas County homes and businesses. That's just over half of the living units in Vilas County. The VCEDC has been key to the grant projects that are underway in Arborvita, Cloverland, Conover, Lincoln, Presque Isle, and Manitowish Waters. In one case, we wrote most of the grant request ourselves. Because of the working relationship we've developed with Charter Spectrum, they have given Vilas County a high priority for their federally funded Regional Digital Opportunity Fund, or RDOF, projects. That means that these projects began last year and are continuing now, bringing fiber to the Vilas County today instead of years in the future. It's been a real privilege, and we're proud to be part of the Lac du Flambeau Tribe's broadband work group and contribute to the creation of Eighth Fire Communications, the tribe's new internet service provider business that will bring fiber to homes and businesses on the Lac du Flambeau Reservation. Looking ahead, the VCEDC will continue to lead this vital work effort, though given the rural nature of our county, it's not realistic to think that we'll have fiber to every home in Vilas County. Our goal is to have fiber to up to 90% of Vilas County living units by the end of 2026. So stay tuned, and we'll continue to communicate our progress as we move forward. Now we're moving on to a really fun part of the agenda, but I want to share that choosing the business of the year this year has been a real challenge among all of the Business of the Month award winners. It just really wasn't easy, as there are a number of very worthy candidates. We're fortunate to have a host of successful, civic-minded business leaders here in the North Woods. Now let's pause to recognize once again our Business of the Month recipients and look back a bit on 2023, and then announce the 2023 Business of the Year. Chef Luke has joined us this morning to accept our award and to share his thoughts about being an entrepreneur in the North Woods. Welcome, Chef Luke. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations.
Hey, thank you so much. This is truly an honor and a blessing. It's pretty surreal. Starting out, this was a pretty humble endeavor. It started out with putting a couple of pots and pans in my truck and going to a client's house and executing a beautiful dinner. But the growth I've experienced in this last year has been remarkable, and that's thanks to the VCEDC. It's truly been a special journey. I think it's important to say congratulations to all the monthly winners. Just to name a couple, at Hooked and Tagged, Conover Gardens, Eagle River Roasters, and all the other worthy businesses. Just to be grouped in that group of monthly winners truly gives me as an entrepreneur a sense of comfort, because those are all successful businesses and they're going to be around a long time. So like I said, just to be grouped in that group is truly special. And, I'm just beyond grateful for the VCEDC. You've truly been a huge part of my success. You've been the background music to my success, truly. This started out as a business, as a boy, I love what I do, but I hope I can make ends meet, to now I'm booked a year out. I mean, you've furnished me with knowledge and tools to make this machine go. That old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime, I believe truly resonates here. And I'm just beyond grateful, and I'm appreciative of this opportunity.
Well, Chef Luke, again, congratulations and thank you. I think you really epitomize what an entrepreneur can accomplish in a very short period of time here in the North Woods. You've just done a phenomenal job. Congratulations. As we come to a close with our program, we have to reflect on the fact that 2024 offers certainly opportunities and significant challenges as well. And we look forward to what the new year will bring. We're going to continue our work with our internet service providers and our communities to continue our countywide broadband rollout, and we'll continue promoting Vilas County as a broadband destination. We're going to absolutely continue our one-on-one support for Vilas County entrepreneurs and businesses, and continue to support our entire business community at large with new educational opportunities, continuing communications, and highlights of new business opportunities. I'd like to thank and welcome our 2024 leadership team, which was voted into office by our board of directors earlier this morning. I'm honored to return as board chairman, and welcome Richard Nelson, who's returning as vice chairman, John Chamberlain, who's also returned as treasurer, and welcome Ty Erickson to the executive committee, who will be joining our leadership team as secretary. Thank you all, and I really look forward to working with you. Stay tuned as we work together to make 2024 even better. In keeping with the fast-paced nature of this agenda, unfortunately, we don't have time for Q&A. However, if you have any questions or would like to further this conversation, I really encourage you to contact Kathy or me, as we really welcome the opportunity to receive your feedback and have follow-on conversations about our strategy, the initiatives we're engaging in, and what we're accomplishing, and our view of the future of Vilas County. If you're inspired by our work, I invite you to join me in making a tax-deductible donation to the VCEDC. As a nonprofit, we rely on financial contributions as one of our key sources of funding, which allows us to accomplish what we've shared with you today. We're grateful for your support. And finally, I'd like to thank board member Noah Lottig, who is working behind the scenes to ensure that this webcast is a success. And I'd like to especially thank Kathy for developing, leading the creation of this year's annual meeting. Thank you so much, Kathy, for everything you've done to pull this off. Please accept our best wishes for a safe and happy holiday season. And here's looking forward to a successful new year. Thank you all very much. Our 2023 annual meeting is adjourned.